Hello and thank you for joining me for another iTWire video with top Australian executives. On my right, I have Alex Merton-McCann. She's Intel's security Cybermum.
Hello.
Mother of four. Hi, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And on the screen, joining us virtually via Skype, is Dr. Justin Coulson. He is a parenting expert. And welcome to you too, Justin.
Hi,
Thank you. Now, in the last couple of days, Intel Security has released a new study. It's entitled Teens, Tweens and Technology Study 2015. And there's a lot of interesting findings about cybersecurity and children and parenting, and that's why we're having a chat today. So probably the first question is this the first such study, or has Intel Security done, or McAfee in the past, McAfee done a few of these? And the study, I've had a look at some of the results. It's very detailed. I mean, let's go into more of the detail. But first of all, is this an ongoing study or the first one?
Yeah, I might answer that one, Justin, if that's okay. So this is the third year we've done the research, the Teens, Tweens Technology research. And over the 3 years, obviously, there has been some trends to reflect what's going on with our Australian young people.
Yep.
The research study focuses on teens and tweens, and a tween is an 8 to 12-year-old, and a teen is a 13+.
And obviously, this will give us some great metrics to compare against over the past couple of years.
Absolutely. It's really, we can put a line in the sand and say, what are our teens and tweens doing at this stage? What's happening? What do we need to be doing as parents and educators and professionals to really guide them and keep them safe online?
Sure. And is this your first year of involvement, Justin?
Look, both Alex and I have been involved from day dot, from the first one a couple of years ago, or 3 years ago, through to this one now. So it's been interesting to watch the trends and look at the different way that our young people are interacting with the technology as technology evolves.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, the study talks about coding, which is, big topic at the moment.
Absolutely.
Cyberbullying, parental trust, cyber skills, youth risk-taking online, cybercrime, the digital future of teens and tweens. I don't know who wants to go first, but let's dive right into the results and what made this year's results, different from the last couple of years.
Yeah, sure. I'll start with the first one. Ladies first. We'll
Sure.
tag
Let's
team.
go.
So for me, as a mum of four, the best result, I think, was the fact that 87% of our parents are now having conversations with their kids about their cyber lives. And what's fabulous is that this is up from sort of mid-70s last year. So I think that as a country and as an organisation, we are actually seeing some improvement. All that work we're doing on talking to your kids online, cyber safety is really having some impact, which I think is fantastic. In terms of, it doesn't mean though that we need to all relax.
Sure.
With parenting, you never stop being a parent.
Yeah.
And Justin will attest to this. You've got to do it all the time. You never stop. So we clearly need to keep going. But what we've done to date is really, really working, which is fantastic. What are your thoughts on that stat, Justin? Here I am being the interviewer.
Yeah. I'll take that as a comment.
Yeah.
No,
that
go
was
for
the
it.
first thing that I was going to point to as well.
Yeah.
There's been a message that's been consistently shared by security providers, by internet service providers, by government, by educators, and that message has been we've got to talk to our children about their digital reputation, about what they're doing online, about how it affects them and others. And I think that this research is showing that it's getting through. The parents are saying, well, at least certainly the parents in this sample, and it's a nationally representative sample, so I guess we could say the message is starting to get through. There's still work to do, but parents are having the conversations, and the children, when they were asked, do your parents talk about this stuff with you, the children showed a corresponding positive response. So that was my first point. The other couple of things that really stood out to me were, in spite of, look, this is a good news story, but in spite of the good news, there's still a disconnect between what's being spoken about and what the children are doing. And so in the last couple of days, I've been on the Today Show and on various media around the country talking about this disconnect where children are still out there, they're meeting strangers in person that they've first met online. And perhaps, if that's not concerning enough, they're just doing all the typical tween and teen things that we expect. That is, they're hiding their online behaviour from their parents, either through using other people's devices, which is the best way to hide what you're doing, or through minimising browsers, deleting histories, using private mode or incognito mode, or if they want to be really tricky and particularly deceitful, having multiple social media profiles so that their parents can follow them on their proper official one, but they've also got these little background underground sort of profiles that nobody else gets to see except for their friends, where they get to try on these other personas and maybe, unfortunately, do things that they wouldn't do if they were well known.
Sure. I mean, the anonymity provided by a keyboard and a screen is still very much an option open to a lot of people. But a few thoughts ran through my mind. I mean, we must have parents today who are much cyber savvier than they have been in the past, who grew up themselves with technology and who are having children now, and so probably know some of the tricks that their kids are going to try and pull on them. And also, it's the case where, you know, for many years teachers have been outsmarted by the students. Students have known more than the teachers and more than the parents. So, I mean, are these results showing that, you know, some of the you know, you're talking about how parents are really talking to their children now, and obviously so much more needs to be done. But there's a lot of this happening because the parents and teachers are just much cyber savvy than they've ever been before, and they're able to also, you know, do things like demand passwords. I don't know how you demand passwords without causing problems, but demanding passwords or using even parental spying software that their children are just not aware of.
Yeah.
You know, what can you tell us about those
Absolutely.
scenarios?
Look, I think parents are savvier. I really do, and I think that's contributing to that. I think one of the messages that I've had when I've been speaking to parents over the last 4 years since I've been doing this job is that the best thing you can do for your child is get online. And when I mean get online, I don't mean buy your groceries and look at, you know, news.com or smh.com.au. Not that I've got any invested interest in those news outlets, but I actually mean get onto the social media platforms that your kids are. If they're on Kik, get on Kik. If it's Facebook, join up. Yik Yak, you name it. You need to understand how these social media platforms work for a couple of different reasons. So if there's a problem online, and you know what, let's be realistic, there's going to be an issue, there's going to be something that's going to upset them from time to time. You understand how to help them navigate that. You can possibly help them sort out their privacy settings. And also you develop a little bit of tech cred. I love this word tech cred, because your kids aren't going to come to you if they think you've got no idea what you're talking about. So as parents, you need to understand how it all works. I think it's really, really important. So that's why I think as well things are changing. But by the same token, there are still parents out there, and I get it, they're overwhelmed. They think, you know what, it's all too hard. It feels like there's another social media platform every week on what's this new app. And some of them put their head in the sand, and I get it. You know, they've got lots of kids, the job, it's all too hard. But I urge parents to take some time, set aside some time every week to address this, educate yourself, because it's the best thing you'll do for your child. It's the best way of keeping your child safe online.
And should some of the schools be having education sessions for the parents?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Intel has got a fantastic partnership with Life Education Australia. And I think we've reached over the last couple of years about 250,000 Australian students. And this is over the age group sort of year 3 up to year 6, teaching them some fantastic cyber safety, about their digital reputation, you know, how to protect themselves online. And there's also some fantastic resources for parents as well. So whilst it is addressing the children and helping them learn some of those positive cyber behaviours, there's some great resources there for parents, which I think has really, you know, helped our parents become a little bit savvier.
And just, I mean, as a parenting expert, how difficult or easy is it to come to an agreement with your children where they are giving you access to their passwords, or at least pretending to? I mean, what are your thoughts there?
Look, this is such a vexed issue. I'm dealing with parents on a daily basis in small groups and large. And what I'm consistently finding is that while there's a small percentage of parents who get it, unfortunately, a lot of parents know that the issues are there and they know that they're supposed to be having these conversations, but I don't think that they really get it. And that's why what Alex said is really important. Be involved, actually download the apps. Even if you only use those apps to communicate with your child, use Snapchat to chat with your child. I'm going to just quickly mention as well, you probably don't want to be on Kik and you don't want your kids on Kik. It's a 17+ app, and it's 17+ for some very good reasons. And similarly, these other social media apps, they're 13+. So it's up to parents to actually get that. And unfortunately, most of the parents that I speak to think it's perfectly okay for their 7-year-old and their 8-year-old to be on Facebook. It's not. In terms of your question, though, Alex, I think that I've just gone mind blank, and you'll need to remind me of exactly what the question was again. Well,
it's to do with the fact that, you know, parents are supposed to be able to ask their children, "What's your password?"
Oh, that's right.
And
so this is the vexed issue.
Yeah.
As soon as we start using our power to demand passwords, we guarantee that our children will give us passwords and then create other fake profiles so that they can do what they really want to do somewhere else. What we need to do is create relationships of trust with our kids, and that means that we've got to do a couple of things. Number one, we've got to remove the threat or the fear of punishment. Because as soon as they think they're going to lose devices or lose access to their friends online, they're going to start hiding things from us. So remove the threat and the fear of punishment and instead start having, number two, conversations with your children. And those conversations should be eased into gently. You don't want to create defensiveness. So instead of saying, are you doing this online? It could be much more helpful to perhaps say something like, I wonder if any of your friends have been doing this. I heard something on the internet today or on the news today, and it just got me worried. Is this sort of stuff happening at your school? Is it happening in your grade? Are you seeing much of this? Because then your child becomes more of an ally than an opponent. And of course, during the course of that conversation, you can then start to steer the conversation to, well, if it is happening, is it happening much in your friendship group? And if it's happening in your friendship group, is it happening with you as well? Have you been exposed to this? Is it something that you're worried about, or is it happening there? And so, you can take it from the macro through to the personal. The last thing that I would recommend that parents do to kind of get around this challenging issue of access to what the kids are up to is problem solve with them. And so you might say, well, look, I'm really concerned about this. To me, this is a problem. Even if you're telling me you're not doing it, I think that as a parent, I need to be worried about it. What do you think we should do so that I can feel safe and you can feel good? Now, I know that there are some families out there that have their written contracts. I've got 6 kids. I don't have time to police 6 contracts. It's just too hard. And even if I had 2, I don't know how I would do it. And the reality is, as soon as you start policing, you turn yourself into your children's enemy. Yeah. And so I'm much more interested in, rather than policing, problem solving and saying to my kids, let's work out something that works for both of us. Because if they've got buy-in and if they're coming up with the rules, what I'm doing is I'm trying to find a way to give them what they want in a way that I feel good about. And if I can't feel good about it, then we can play around with it until we both feel good about it. If my 11-year-old wants to be on Facebook, I'm not going to feel good about that, ever. But we can come up with other ways that 11-year-old might be able to have some digital involvement and still have friends. Maybe it's Club Penguin or Mushy Monsters or, so those things are a bit old now. But some way of coming up with something that we can both feel good about. It's about problem solving, not being punitive.
Yeah, it's about having them actively involved in being part of the solution, as opposed to feeling like they're a prisoner and then wanting to escape and run away and those sorts of things.
Because Justin talks beautifully about the whole concept of the forbidden fruit. You say no, you say you can't do something, and all of a sudden they're as keen as mustard to get involved.
Yeah. Well, it's like it's psychology. It's like using reverse psychology against your children.
Exactly right. Right.
And I mean, it makes me think that plenty more parents need parenting classes to learn how to do this.
I can't help
it's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So look, we're running out of time. Alex, what are some of your top? You published the top 5 tips, and I mean the article that will follow this story will have a link to the survey and the results. But I'll ask both of you, what are your top parenting tips? I mean, we've already mentioned a few of them, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, for me, communication is number one, absolutely number one. And I mean, I know we've touched on that already today. Keep the lines of communication open. Look, try, keep it calm. And I know as parents, we all feel stressed. Our hearts pound. We've got so many things going on. But try and keep it calm with your children. And as Justin was saying, keep the lines of communication open. No, don't focus on retribution. Focus on how we can work on this together to make it better. How can we both feel good about it? I think that's really, really important. When it comes to, my boys are obsessed with apps, love a new app. And when it comes to apps, I think it's really important as a family, we actually have a policy whereby if you want to download an app, not going to say no, just go and spend a bit of time doing your due diligence. Check out the reviews. What are people saying? Are you going to waste your $2.49 or is it going to be a good investment?
That's it.
Make sure it's safe. Yeah, I think that's really... Oh, hello. There we are.
We have a live subject.
Yes, indeed we do. Hello, gorgeous. Hello, gorgeous. Look, another thing I would say to parents is really just get involved online as well. I know I've touched on it before, but if it's the number one thing you can do is just download those apps, make sure you understand how it works. Set aside half an hour once a week to just explore the online world so you get yourself a bit of tech cred. That would be my top 3 tips.
Sure. And Justin?
Look, I'm only going to add one more thing to that, and that is, if we want to have influence with our children, what we really need to do more than anything is create trust in the relationship. Trust is when our children honestly believe that we're going to act in their best interests.
It's the hands-on parenting.
Yeah, that's it.
You know,
it's great.
magnificent.
It's wonderful.
Absolutely.
And so if we want our children to honestly believe that we're going to act in their best interest, we need to invest in the relationship sufficiently that they can trust us. In other words, we just need to be there and have a relationship with them in the first place. If we don't have a good relationship where we're spending time with them in the mornings or time with them in the evenings or time with them on the weekends, if we can't do that, then we can't expect that they're going to listen to us or care what we think when we're trying to work out their digital well-being. We need to create good relationships with our children around all of the issues so that when the tough issues come up, we can work with them instead of doing things to them.
Yeah, they'll be happy to come to you and approach you for advice rather than asking their friends or somebody else.
Right.
Look, the future is rapidly arriving. You know, natural user interfaces are going to replace, you know, the keyboard. People are speaking to their computers. Intel's got its RealSense cameras with 3D. We've got gesture recognition. Any thoughts on how cyber safety risks will evolve over the next few years with these radically new and different ways of interacting with our computers?
Look, I think, just one quick point, I think that as parents, this to me is another reason why we need to stay abreast. I mean, if you're not reading the news headlines every day, how are you going to know that this is what's ahead of us? So staying abreast of technology, staying abreast of what's on the horizon as a parent is absolutely key. Having all the answers at the moment, look, as parents we probably don't, but just making sure you're staying ahead of the game, knowing what's coming means you can arm yourself with some tips to be able to keep your kids safe online. Things are always changing in technology, nothing ever stays the same, which makes our job as parents really hard. But making sure you're armed with the information is the best thing you can do.
Justin?
Yeah, look, we're the first generation of parents to deal with these sorts of issues. No generation of parents has done it before, and it seems like we're starting to catch on. I think that no matter what the digital changes are, and obviously they are coming, and they're happening right now, you know, it's a continual process of evolution. There's a few constants when it comes to keeping our children safe, and the number one constant is that we need to have those good relationships. We need to stay connected, and I'm not talking about the digital connection. I'm talking about the real human, personal connection, and that's always going to be, I think, the very best advice for relationships, whether it's parent-child or spousal or even, you know, employer-employee. Whatever the relationship is, it's about the quality of the connection, and that connection is not a digital one. It's a real human one.
It sounds like it's the basics.
It is.
Communication is something that...
It's the foundation.
That's it. Without that, the rest of it falls away.
The house falls down.
Any final comments from either of you?
Look, all I could say is I really just do support what Justin said. I think having that trust and that depth of the relationship is absolutely key, because when things go wrong, when they're stressed, they'll know to come. You're their go-to person, and that as every parent's dream is your child, you know, to come to you as their go-to person. I think what Justin says really sets you up for that.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Look, my only comments are be involved. Be involved digitally, but be involved in real life. I think we've kind of covered that reasonably well, but that's really the crux of it. Just really be involved.
No worries. Well, I'll make sure to have a link to your website, Dr. Justin, and to the Intel Security Family Safety site as well. So thanks very much to you both. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Alex.
Thanks, Alex.
See you later. Bye-bye.